as I hinted earlier this week in our juice box video, link down below, since it's Halloween in a few days, we're having a little fun on this channel with some spooky themed videos. We've brought our juice boxes back from the dead, or perhaps, more accurately, the land of severely reduced charging purgatory. We've asked some of you to tell us your EV horror stories over on our second channel. And later this week, we'll share our nightmarish experiences with the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, which wasn't honestly so much of a nightmare, just as not being able to film a review because the window got really badly cracked. But today I'm going to explore ways you can avoid your very own EV nightmare by giving you some tips and tricks to keep things running as they ought. Just be sure that you don't cross any black cat paths. Can't do anything about that. Today's video is going to be a little lighthearted because Halloween and, election. And there's a lot of nastiness doing the rounds right now, so if we can have a little bit of fun here while also explaining how to avoid the biggest horror stories of EV ownership, I am all for it. I would also like to introduce you to Chimi the fox, who is quite the car guy, and while it took me a while to get him over to EVs, he's very much there now. Say hi, Chimi.
Hey, Chimi the fox. How you doing?
I'm fine, thanks for asking. Hey, where's Queenie?
I mean, she was doing something at the weekend, at the zoo. Got a little wet. Ooh, you do not want to smell her right now. Wet dog. Ew. Nah. We good.
Great.
I got you.
Anyway, I'm sure Jimmy will come back and chime in with some stuff as and when he feels it's appropriate. Anyway, since we're into the season of colder nights and frosty mornings in the Northern Hemisphere, let's start with one of the biggest nightmares for EV owners out there. You arrive at your car to find the battery is dead. And I don't mean the big traction battery pack. I mean the little itty-bitty 12-volt battery that's used to start the majority of EVs. And I say the majority because some EVs, including some of Tesla's newest vehicles, don't use a traditional 12-volt starter battery or even 12-volt electronics to power the onboard computer systems prior to the engagement of the main traction battery pack. But you can't unlock your car with your key fob. You can't turn the lights on, and even if your car has a good old-fashioned backup door lock you can access with a hidden key in your key fob, nothing turns on when you get inside.
Dead. As a doornail.
Yeah, thanks, Chimi. Anyway, the 12-volt electrical system that most EVs use to power the computer systems within the car and keep everything running long enough for the computer to do a system check and then to engage the high voltage power contactors that are used to mechanically and electrically connect the traction battery pack of the car to the high voltage components inside the car, like the power inverter, the mains DC to DC converter, and so much more. But when that's all happened, your car's main traction battery car can then power the onboard 12-volt systems using its own DC to DC converter. But in order for all of that to happen, your 12-volt battery has to be healthy enough to handle the initial startup current of the computer system. And cold weather is known to not be good for traditional lead-acid battery packs, especially ones in EVs. We're actually getting ready to test some alternatives to traditional 12-volt batteries on the channel, but if you are an EV owner, having a small 12-volt portable jump starter somewhere easily accessible can really help you out of a sticky situation. Of course, you'll need to know where the 12-volt battery or dedicated jump starter points are in your vehicle, to make use of them. And bear in mind that some cars, like the Ford Mustang Mach-E and, again, certain Tesla models, don't have any traditional mechanical door locks that allow you to gain access to inside the vehicle if the 12-volt battery is dead. So look in your car's manual if your car doesn't have traditional door locks, and it probably has a page somewhere devoted to jump-starting your vehicle, even if the 12-volt battery is completely dead. And of course, regularly check on the health of that battery, because as I've detailed in other videos on this channel, links below, 12-volt batteries really don't have as easy a life in an EV as you might expect.
Hey, also, if you're gonna do the whole jumper thing with the jump start, make sure you get the leads right, you know? Positive to positive and negative to negative. And don't just go putting them on the terminal, because sometimes you got to use special little posts on the car, right?
Yeah, good point, Chimi. Okay, next nightmare on the list is arriving at a charging station to find that it's not available because it's broken, something that most often happens when you are on a road trip. And given that we are now into storm season, this is super duper important, because you're more likely to find your route has a unexpected detour or a weather-related diversion that can scupper your plans at a moment's notice. Luckily, this is less of a problem than it used to be because there are more charging stations. But as we've said so many times, it is super important to make sure that you always plan routes that include a buffer. And you should do that whether you're driving in an EV or a gas car, to be fair. Yes, it is possible to have some cars route you to the next charging station, but you should always have an alternative charging place you can reach, and that means having a buffer and not driving until your car is completely empty. Stop and charge before you need to, and don't be a hero. And unless, of course, you are a time traveller with a time-travelling device, of course, which, unfortunately, I don't think any of us have.
Queenie has one, right? But she uses it to go back in time and have more cake and gin. Ugh.
Yeah, I was talking about normal people there, not fractured parts of my id. I mean, while we are on the subject, can anybody tell me why my brain invented a character who likes gin? I hate the stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, moving on. Let's talk about another nightmare charging scenario. Arriving and discovering that there is an incompatibility between your charging station and your car. That, when it happens, absolutely sucks, and is only bested by arriving at a completely broken charging station when you are completely empty. But of course, if you followed my advice earlier about making sure you have a buffer, this will not be a major issue. But what if you're arriving at a location like a hotel for an overnight stop and you discover that the charging station type you need isn't the one that you have access to? The easy answer is, like a drag king, to make sure you're packing adapters. Depending on your EV and where you live in the world, you may need an adapter to switch between a Tesla destination charger and a J1772 inlet, or the other way around. I'm not picky. You might need to switch between a Type 2 to Type 1 connector, or perhaps just a way of plugging in at a humble, old-fashioned camping outlet. For example, when we're driving as a team from here down to California, there's one hotel on I-5 that doesn't have any dedicated EV charging stations, but has a massive row of RV parking spaces. And so we always stop there because we always travel with a bunch of different adapters for our portable granny cables, and that means we're always ready to get a charge.
I mean, I leave my grandmother at home, but I always make sure I take Mima a present afterwards, you know?
Granny cables, Chimi, not grandparent. The other type of adapter that you might want to consider, especially if you're on Nissan Leaf or a Kia Soul EV owner in some parts of the world, is a CHAdeMO to CCS adapter. They're not very affordable right now, hovering around $1,000, and we are going to be testing some out on this channel in the very near future. But I have lost track of the number of EV owners I've encountered who have been left out of the charging joy because their EV is no longer being given much in the way of support by charging networks. And I know some of you, including our uber troll Mr. Mark Plot. Hi, Mark, will tell us that, in all caps, they should just buy a... You know. But honestly, that is not how the world works, Peanut.
Yeah, let people pick a car that's right for them, right? Don't be such a huge ass.
Yeah, always be kind. Don't be mean. It's not cool to be mean, right? Anyway, I should probably also talk about tyres too, and the little problems associated with having a flat one. Spare tyres on EVs are pretty rare. Only a very small handful of vehicles have spare tyres as standard from the factory, and EVs are no exception. Therefore, it is super important to do everything you possibly can to minimise the risk of tyre nightmares by regularly checking your tyres for even wear, proper tyre pressure, things stuck in it, and of course, also making sure you have a way of getting out of trouble if need be. One option, of course, if you want, would be to get a spare tyre. There are some great space-saving wheels you can buy for EVs, but most automakers will expect you to use a can of Fix-A-Flat, which is...
messy. I mean, it's messy. Really messy and sticky. And
yeah, and not in any nice kind of way that you might enjoy.
ew.
Anyway, what was I going to say? Fix-A-Flat can actually cause damage to tyres and wheels long term, and unless you have the unfortunate experience of having a blowout on your tyre, some causes of which you can help avoid if you actually regularly check on your tyre health, you're most likely going to have a slow puncture, which you might be able to keep aired up just long enough to get to a tyre shop. That is, if you have an emergency tyre inflation doodad. The ones I have purchased for my own cars, I have one in each of my vehicles, are about the size of a small brick, and they're battery powered, and they can keep my tyres pumped up reasonably well, even if I have a fairly noticeable slow puncture. But just remember, if you're going to be driving on a tyre with a slow puncture, please avoid high-speed roads like freeways and keep your speed down, because slow punctures can ultimately, quite quickly, become bigger ones. So, yeah, let's finish by talking about your belly.
Belly? My belly rocks. I fill it with beer and nachos. Huh.
I mean the underside of an EV, Chimi.
Oh.
The underside of your EV is pretty well protected, but if you are in doubt about the road you're going on in terms of ground clearance, just don't push it. If you're driving through deep snow or ice, slow down, and for the love of everything that's smart, avoid taking your car through situations where anything might puncture or enter the battery pack. Sure, you're not going to flood an engine, and I have also driven through floodwaters in an EV before without any issues, but down that road lies danger and potential nightmares. So if in doubt, don't. Just as you wouldn't take an ice car through somewhere you can't safely see through, just don't try and be a hero. So, no, that's about it. Thanks for joining me through this very irreverent little video. Thank you for putting up with his nips over there, and if you are celebrating Halloween, have a good one. Stay safe, be smart, and steer clear of time-travelling border collies that stink of gin.
Yeah, what she said. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me today, and if you've got some thoughts, make sure you leave them in our Discord chat room, our Patreon page, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are some of the more than 1,500 people who help fund this channel through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and making sure that we can remain 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. There are a range of different tiers that you can sign up for from as little as $1 a month, or if you pay yearly, just over $10 a year. A huge welcome to our newest supporters: Alan Brim, Jim, Sarah Horlock, full name, Todd Johnson, Roderick, Stuart Despain, Rupert Ronson, Larry Phoenix, Darla, Wendy Kelly Bundenbaum, and Kay. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your moment of fame. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll also find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have a good old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at, address also linked below. And of course, if you're in need of some swag, you'll find our swag store in the down below. Don't forget that Halloween is coming and we've got some great designs for the season. We've also got some great content coming up, so make sure you're subscribed on PeerTube or YouTube, and we'll see you soon. We make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you want more, the mighty algorithm thinks you'll like this video, but we also think this one is well worth a look. See you soon, and as always, keep evolving!